Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Tactical Baby Gear Podcast. In this episode, we're coming at you from Salt Lake City, Utah, where Alex and I traveled out there to speak with our friends Betsy and Angie of Beddys Beds. It's a really cool, inspiring story of a couple of stay-at-home moms who solved a problem they were having with the kids and turned it into a massive business. And then they talk about how the whole family's involved, and the kids have a massive YouTube channels and all kinds of stuff. I hope their story inspires something within you to start something of your own or take the next step with your ideas. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Now that we got that scare out of the way.
Got that scare out of the way. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. These girls here were just trying to scare me, and it didn't work, so now they're really upset. This is Betsy and Angie of Beddys. And they got a really cool, inspiring story we wanted to share with you guys. And then there's so much to talk about. And Betsy and Angie are a ton of fun. There's no telling where this is going to go. So I hope you're ready for it. It's going to be exciting. How you guys doing this morning?
Good.
Good.
How about you?
Good.
How are you?
I mean, I'm still sweating, honestly, I think, from stressing out about trying to scare you. And it didn't even happen.
Second time you tried to scare me this morning in like 10 minutes.
And
they're mad
she was
'cause I don't
scared more.
scare.
Actually, she got me the first time too. So
At least like somebody got
Yeah.
scared. So, anyway.
That's awesome. What's up, Alex? How's it going?
It is going. I'm excited to be here.
You guys have an awesome place.
Oh, thank
Super
you.
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Dave's done a great job.
Giving us a lot of inspiration since we're doing our build out. I keep looking. It's weird. Every time I walk into a building now, I always look up. I'm like, I wonder what their ductwork looks like. I don't know why.
it's all
I'm
this-
Well, we have to
excited
redo
about
all
that,
of this
but
now with the because
Yeah.
we're going to do an addition. We'll build in back and then do second floor of offices. So
Right.
it's going to be, hey,
There's
another
a
reason
lot
for
that
you to
goes
come back.
into it.
We'll come
like
back.
to really to
There's so
think through
many
like the
details.
workflow of
Yeah.
like
Yep.
you got the people and how they're going to interact and what you're trying to accomplish with the space.
Yep.
They're like being like you don't want to just kind of feel like you're in a dungeon and everything else. Like how do you bring life to the space
Yep.
and think
Yeah.
about where people are. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in the half that we're building now, which is going to be the media and marketing department, where
Yep.
you want to like inspire creativity and things like that. So, just trying to do that, and then have it super well lit because everything's on camera. And
It's true. That was
Yeah.
one of our big
Sound
things
and-
is the new photo studio. Because right now it's all windows, so the lighting's always perfect.
right,
Things
Yeah.
you don't think about, like certain frequencies of lights actually like flicker in camera.
flickering lights and temperatures of lights and all
Yep.
that stuff. But anyways, those are your struggles. But your place looks great.
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
I'll let you guys explain a little bit of your story. Let's talk about Beddys. Let's talk about how you got started because it's cool, and then we'll kind of segue from there.
Okay. So the story, I guess, kind of starts out. So I was a full-time hairdresser, so this was not like something I was thinking I would ever do. But I had twins, and then they had bunk beds. And if you've ever tried to make a bunk bed, you understand my frustration. But I was getting really frustrated with my kids. I thought my kids were being lazy. So I'm like, you guys, it's not that hard. And I go up there, and I'm like taking off my bracelets and taking off my boots and getting up to climb up on their bed. And I'm like skinning my knuckles on the stupid rails. And then I'm like, there has got to be an easier way to do this. Like a bazillion people have bunk beds. Why is nobody else complaining except for me? So I went downstairs and I Googled bunk bed bedding. And then I Googled how to make a bunk bed because I'm like, oh, Pinterest probably has hacks on how to do it. And there was nothing. And so I'm like, this is so frustrating. So Angie and I have been running partners for like a bazillion years, actually like 15.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's more than that now. But
So
yeah.
I would go out there and I would tell her, I'm like, listen, somebody needs to invent bedding for bunk beds. And she's like, oh, I know.
We had a loft bed, and literally the whole time we had it, we would just throw the blankets at the
Right.
top. We didn't even try to make
That
it.
happened at my house too for a
Yeah,
long time.
and it looked terrible.
Yep.
But we got rid of it for that reason.
Yeah.
It looked terrible.
So anyway, so I finally just got so frustrated that I wanted their rooms to look clean. So I went over to my mom's house. I'm like, Mom, I just need you to help me. We'll sew elastic around the bottom. And then if we can just have zippers. So I found the longest zippers I could find, which were at Hobby Lobby, and they were like halfway down the bed. But it worked for me. And it was like my solution. And I remember I would tell clients about it 'cause doing hair. I would tell them all about my complaints. And then I'm like, hey, I actually ended up doing this and it works. And then they were all telling me that, they're like, I would buy that. You should make this a business. And so then that's when one day Angie and I had gone to lunch and she was going back to college and I was like, why are you doing that? Like, we should just start a business. Keep in mind, I don't like have a lot of education, actually none. I did hair school. So anyways, so then we just decided to do it would be like a fun hobby. Well, when we started getting in, like looking into manufacturing and whatever else, it was so expensive. And so it's like you had to go big or go home. And then, do I tell? So this is, you're going to be like, bless your heart, Betsy. But Shark Tank came. So we'd gone through a couple years of prototypes and we finally got the prototype that we wanted. But to get our first order, it was $250,000. And remember, this was like our hobby, so we didn't have that money.
Right.
And so Shark Tank was coming to Vegas, and that was like 6 hours away. I'm like, Angie, all we have to do is go to Shark Tank. They're going to love the idea. They're going to give us the money, and we're going to get our first order. Literally, that's what I thought. So she's like, I'll stay up here.
Yeah, Shark Tank terrified me.
So I drove down to Shark Tank. I got an audition, and the guy was actually really cool. He's like, it's a really great idea. He's like, but you've got to get something behind you.
Yeah, you need
or
to
else
have more foundation.
Yeah, the sharks are going to eat you alive. And I'm like, well, we kind of talked about maybe doing a Kickstarter. He's like, yeah, that's perfect. So anyways, we ended up doing a Kickstarter, but we didn't get on Shark Tank. Can you even believe that? Who even are they? Do they?
But 2 callbacks.
I'm just kidding.
Did they
I'm-
even know?
yeah, we got 2. We did get 2 callbacks, so that was good. We got like to the end, but didn't make it. So which was fine
But
in
it's
the end.
fine now.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes. But at the time, it felt devastating, honestly.
Right. You're like, this
So-
is my only ticket.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
American Idol. Like, I need the golden ticket.
Yeah, yes. And so we ended up doing the Kickstarter, and truly, we didn't know anything about Kickstarter. I just thought, oh, people want this bedding. And let me backtrack actually a little bit, because before I went down to the Shark Tank audition, I had, they're like, list your website, which we barely had a landing page that just collected emails. And then we had list your Facebook page. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we need a Facebook page. So I created a Facebook page, and we'd made a video showing how the bedding worked and everything. And so I uploaded it to Facebook. Well, I wasn't techie, so I had actually uploaded it to my personal. And we hadn't really told anybody about it because we were going through the patent process with our attorneys. So all of a sudden, all of my friends are resharing this, and I look on Facebook, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't post to Beddy's, I posted to my personal. So, but we had like 4,000 views that night. I'm like, I don't have 4,000 friends. This is so crazy.
We thought it was viral.
Yeah, we thought it was viral. And
Yeah.
it had like 15,000, we'd collected like 15,000 emails that whole weekend.
Jeez.
So people wanted the product. So we knew that there was
Demand. for it.
and that's when we decided to do the Kickstarter. Anyway, so that's how all of that happened.
So you had a successful Kickstarter campaign then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
Not that. I don't know. I actually tried to start on Kickstarter, but
Oh,
this
really?
was after I had started, and they denied me. They wouldn't let me run a Kickstarter campaign because it was already an existing product, because I had already been making and selling them.
No way.
Yeah. So I got denied. They wouldn't let me do it. I went through making a video and doing all that
Oh.
stuff, because that was how I was trying to raise money at the time too, to fund the
That was
first
actually
purchase order.
the exact time that he reached out to me.
Yeah. it
Oh,
was
really?
Same time. I had all the manufacturing I had a connection with the factory, and I just needed the capital to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got denied there, and I was working, doing some other stuff, trying to raise other money, making holsters and doing other side business, like just bringing in cash as much as I could to I could fund this thing. And then that helped. And then I brought Alex on board, and he brought in some capital, and then we were off to the races. And
That's so awesome. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
But a lot of people, it's funny because Kickstarter can go either way. It's either like a complete flop or you have like huge success.
Yeah, and in our mind, we didn't even think it would.
Do
We didn't
anything.
even consider failing.
Like,
we
we
didn't
wouldn't have-
realize.
It's so
we
funny
wouldn't
how
have
much
dared
mindset,
to do that.
Yeah.
I found so many things. We were so naive that had we known, we would have never done it. So like going on to Shark Tank, I truly thought I'll just go down there and ask them for the money. I'm surely they're going to give it to me.
Right.
Like idiot, but that's the truth of it. With
Raising
everything
money is
we've
very
done.
difficult for a lot of people. And I've had a lot of people listening probably, that have messaged me about, hey, would you look over my business plan so I can take it to the bank and get a loan for this business idea I have? I'm like, you don't get it. Like, banks don't just give out money for
Oh, no.
business ideas.
No,
Those
but-
days are long gone.
Do you know what? A women-owned business, everyone's like, oh, they have tons of grants and tons of loans for women-owned business. we literally would have to give up our first child for $20,000. I'm not even kidding. So we did $108,000 on Kickstarter, but we needed $250,000. So we each took out $75,000 on our home equity lines. Cause I'm like, I have to go through all this crap to get a $20,000 loan. I might as well just
that you're going to personally guarantee anyways.
Right. Anyway, right.
That's the same, yeah.
So
it's really funny how many hoops you have to jump through on a new business. Like we ran through that for a while through some banks that they were like, oh, well, you haven't been in business long enough.
Yeah,
that's like, because.
Have you looked at our numbers? Like what? Like we're growing substantially. We need more capital to buy more inventory to continue to grow. You know, and they're like, yeah, sorry.
Yep.
It's very frustrating, but you know, Kickstarter is a good idea. I think it'll work a lot of people if you do it right and you put the effort and the energy into it and promote it. There's just a lot of noise in there now, and I wonder now, how long ago was that?
It funded in 2014.
14.
So
5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
So many people get burned on Kickstarter these days. They fund a project, then it never really comes to fruition, and then they never really get it. And I feel like, I don't know, have you guys seen that, Travis or Ryan, of like people like less willing to fund Kickstarter campaigns? Because
I've actually heard that there's like a percentage, and it's a low percentage of people that fund, and then of those people that fund, an even lower percentage actually get the product.
Yeah.
And
So-
we're
follow it much, but I wouldn't ever probably fund a Kickstarter like that one.
I know so many people.
So many just don't have.
Shane has funded I don't know how many drones before drones were like a big popular thing. He's like, man, this guy's getting this new drone. It'll follow you and all this stuff. I funded it. I'm going to get it in like 3 months. Never got it. He's like, and then he funds another one and another one, and he never got any of them.
Oh man.
We're really proud of the fact that we funded in April of 2014 and we were delivering in July and September of the same year.
That's awesome.
Incredible.
But that was what we promised, so we did it. That's
good for you.
We didn't even consider not.
And I think that mindset carrying forward is what's probably got you guys to where you're at now. Like there's no option but to move forward and to do the right thing for the customer and to deliver on your promise of the quality of your product in a timely fashion and all that stuff. So it's really cool.
So do you feel like you always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit in that regards? Like you talk about, like failure was not even an option. I feel like that's sort of, you have to almost have that blind faith to be an entrepreneur, almost and be like a parent too. It's like you just kind of blindly go in it and you just hope and kind of figure it out, but you just have faith that you're going to do it. So have you always sort of
I think
had
once
that?
I make a decision, I know that that's what I'm doing, and you can't change my path.
Right.
So if something
Betsy's
goes
really
wrong,
good at that.
I'm like, all right, pivot, or like, just figure it out.
And I've always been a hard worker and motivated, but I always kind of take the safe, if I do this, then I'll get here. Where Betsy is more risky.
You're a little
She's
more
a
of a
hard
wild
worker,
card.
she's motivated, but she also takes the risk, and she's taught me a lot that way. Yeah.
You guys have a very similar dynamic to Alex and I, where I'm like shooting from the hip, screw it, go for it, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he's like, hold on, let's think this through.
I know. It's so us. Are you sure?
He's like,
Okay.
hold on, let me, I need a spreadsheet on this first,
Yep.
But,
I know, I'm writing things
but
down.
how perfect is that dynamic? It's the yin and yang. It's like to have such polar opposites and to find a middle ground that works with just enough risk and just enough planning to like make it happen.
But the truth is
with no option.
if I had me as a business partner, I would go crazy.
Right.
I would drive myself crazy. So I'm so glad I have Angie.
No, she doesn't drive me crazy, and she's really, actually a really good example to me. And I love that she won't take no for an answer. And the thing, I think you should tell the story where we were trying to get into that. This is a good story.
No
this
idea.
is really early on. We only had a prototype, no product. We had the factory, but we were trying to get into stores because that's the next step. Where are we going to sell these? So
I was like, well, we should go to we should go to Bed Bath & Beyond, and they'll like just get us in the stores. Like, I didn't know that there's like corporate people that do the orders.
So we
I
were
literally
literally
go to the actual store.
in Taylorsville,
Yes.
Utah.
And
walk
they're like,
in.
I'm like, hi, so do you know who does all your ordering for the bedding? And they're like, oh, that's like corporate. I'm like, oh, do you know,
Like, do you
can
have
I
their
get their number? And they go, we don't give that away. I'm like, oh, okay.
This is a cashier.
I go, do you know what their name is? And they told me her name, and I'm like, okay, thanks. Cool, bye. So I get in the car, and I call the other store, and I'm like, can I be connected to, and I can't even remember the lady's name at this time. No. I'm like, can I be connected to so-and-so? And they're like, yes, just 1 second.
And I'm in the car just
Click
sitting
me
there.
through. So I got through to this lady.
No.
Yes, that's
The
how I
buyer.
did it. And who's the buyer, who happened to be coming into town like the next week. And she's like, well, I'm actually going to be in Utah. She's like, I'd love to meet you guys and look at your product. So that's literally how I did things. Because I was like, I don't know how else.
But I was the same way. So like when I was making our first bags, I knew all I knew how to do was build cars and work on cars, and like that was my skill set. I didn't know anything about retail or any of that stuff. I knew enough to be dangerous and figured out, like, I set up a website, I was doing e-commerce, and we're selling stuff, and there was a lot of buzz around it and demand, but I didn't know the next steps, which is why I called Alex, because he was selling to mass market and to Target and Macy's and all this stuff. And he's like, well, you got UPC codes and all? I'm like, what's that? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But that's the reality of it. Like, that's the stuff that people don't, like, when they're starting out, that they don't understand, they don't get, they don't realize the process or the other little small nuances. They're like, I got a product, I just sell it. Like, there's so many other things that go into it.
Well, even now with like social media, right? It's like, well, I'll just get an influencer and then they'll post it to their 1 million followers and I'll just, I'll make $1 million and it's just super easy. Like, well, what's all the back end to it? How do you actually get the product to market? Do you have it priced right? Do you have the infrastructure for it? There's obviously a lot that goes into it.
So one thing that I feel like I've always done is I put myself, because I feel like I'm the customer, like, so I always think, how would I reach me? What would I pay attention? What marketing do I listen to? That kind of thing. But in the beginning, when I was a hairdresser, I told everybody what vacuum to buy, what washcloth to use, what hair products, and I'm telling them outside of hair what things they need in their life, down to like, I would like diagnose them. I thought I was a doctor. And I'm like, my husband's like, you need to put on the mirror. Please consult your physician before taking Betsy's advice.
You just tell everyone how to live their life.
It's true though, but I'm like, I spend more time with these people than the doctor does.
Let me just break in. She says she would tell people. No, she would make people. If you didn't, and convince you, like this vacuum, you had to have it in your life. And how many vacuums did you sell?
A bazillion.
You are an incredible salesperson.
She is. Yeah.
But if I love something, I need everybody to know about it because it gets me, I genuinely find joy when other people like what I like.
I know. I mean, it comes through like in Instagram stories. You're like, she loves that shirt.
It's true. And this is why. No. So anyway, so that's how it started. And so I'm like, how do I reach all these hairdressers? Because I knew hairdressers talk to people. And that's when social media was starting to pick up. And so we started with Facebook, and then Facebook started, they only showed your stuff if you wanted to pay.
The organic
and we
reach started
didn't have money to pay. So that's when we started building Instagram, and Instagram has done really well for us. And then I started meeting people, like social media influencers, and they would post for us, and they would do it in exchange for product because we just couldn't pay them. We didn't have the money to pay them, you know. So that's how it really just got started. And continues to be like our number one driver is working with social media influencers. Yeah.
How much do you guys love those early days of like that grind and trying to bootstrap it? I love that stuff. I love trying to figure it out.
It's like I love it, but I don't want to go back.
It's so nice to look back at it.
Yeah.
It is the coolest thing I've ever done.
It's so cool.
Really, it's right up there
shingles
with being a mom.
twice.
Yeah.
Like it's like I was like a 100-year-old person. Like who gets shingles? Betsy and the 95-year-old. You know. So I think it was just so much stress. And not
also,
sleeping in that.
We've mentioned this. We were pretty naive. We didn't understand all those places we could have, where it could have gone
everyone
wrong.
is like, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That, everyone thinks from day one they should have it figured out and they should know but nobody does.
We're the only people admitting it, though.
I
I think we're the only people that admit it. And here's a perfect example. We went on with the governor.
A trade mission.
Yeah, a trade mission with the governor. And before that, we had to go meet with them. And we show up, and literally, just tells you, I'm like, I am who I am.
At the Capitol.
I was wearing heels and jeans and a really pretty necklace and a sweater, you know. We show up, and everyone, woman and man, is wearing a full suit. Like,
I saw this recently. You're like, I didn't get the memo. Is that what this
was? No, this was
else.
actually another one. I didn't dare bring out a camera for that. But we're sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are so stupid. Why didn't we wear our suits? I don't have suits. We should have bought them. And so, but do you know what though? I think that everyone they wanted to help us because they're like, oh, bless your heart.
These poor girls.
These idiots, they need our help. But so people help us because I'm like, we are who we are. We're not pretending to be business people because we don't know what the crap we're doing, you know? So, but it started out like the governor turned to us and he's like, and don't you have 2 patents? And we're like, yes. So it was cool. Like, I think maybe the fact that we looked like idiots.
Yeah, he started talking to us and nobody else in the room. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, you got to stand out. You got to break through the noise.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we sure did.
It's all an attention game, right?
But-
And standing out.
Yeah.
So cool.
It wasn't for attention. I literally thought I did look nice though.
Well, yeah. I mean, you always look nice. You
But
always
I
look
just
awesome.
didn't know that everyone needed to wear a suit,
Right.
you know?
But those things are changing now, anyways, in business and how you interact.
Yeah.
People want
It
a
seems
little more,
like
the
it.
less corporate, a little more just what's authentic to your
Yeah.
brand.
Right.
Your brand is one of those brands that curses and everything else. Like, stay true to it because that's
Yep.
who you are. Don't just, placate to the masses. Is that the right word?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Anyways, like just kind of change your identity just to try to sell a few more things. I think that's a short-term gain instead of the long-term play. You got to be who you are.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's what people buy into, right? Simon Sinek has a big thing. You guys familiar with Simon Sinek? If you guys are listening, there's a guy on YouTube. Well, he does a big thing about why, like what people buy into your brand for the reason, like for what. It's like they know what they're buying. They know what the product is, but why are they buying it? Why? What's the brand stand for? What's the why behind your business? And a lot of people buy into the brand DNA. So I think it goes back to what Alex is saying of like just stay true to who you are, and people will latch onto that and follow it and stuff like that. So that's a cool thing. Speaking of brand, how much, branding is such an interesting topic too. That Beddy's, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Beddy's has a good brand, but is there a particular like brand message, I guess, from the brand that
I think
you
it's
guys-
just that we want to make life easier, you know? We are all busy and for us in the bedding industry, bedding's been the same forever. There's never been a change to bedding. So we're kind of disrupting the bedding
Real quick,
industry.
Yeah, definitely disrupting it. Tell them, I don't think we've explained exactly what Beddy's is. So explain to them how it works, and it's like sleeping bag meets
I know. So it is. It's like, I hate to say sleeping bag because then you think it's like constricting
and
cheap. But it's like your bedding had a baby with your comforter and it's just so much better. But you get the ease of zipping your bed to make it, but you have the comfort with our comfort panels and the way it's designed that you feel like you're sleeping in traditional bedding. So you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's great for the kids as you designed it initially.
Yep.
Like it's very easy for the kids to make their bed. They don't have to do all this tucking and folding, and they just zip it up and they're done. It's fun for them.
Do you want to know how we found out it would be good for adults? Kickstarter.
Yep.
People were asking for queen size. We're like, wait, people want queen size? We were only going to do twin and
Twin.
full because that's what bunk beds were. And so then in the middle of the Kickstarter, we have our factory make a sample of a queen size. And Angie's like, well, I have a queen size bed. I'll put it on my bed. I'm going to test it out because we didn't want to bring it out if it's not going to work with 2 people.
With 2 people. That was my
So-
question. Yeah. So the next morning we're out running and I'm like, Betsy, we are on to something because my husband and I both loved it. So now our market's bigger.
Yeah, just opened
Huge.
up.
Because
It's not
everyone-
just kids with bunk beds. It's adults. And we genuinely loved it.
Yeah. And what she realized too, because they have an RV,
Yeah.
is RV life. It's miserable trying to make the bed. It's the same complaints that I had with
a bunk bed.
The bunk bed, it's these tight spaces. So, and the tiny homes became huge. We were on a few tiny home episodes because our bedding works perfect for that.
Also, when we delivered with Kickstarter, we actually hand delivered everything we could in the valley,
Oh,
in the
cool.
Salt Lake
Yeah.
Valley, because
couldn't
we were
afford
trying to
shipping.
save on shipping.
But actually, it was a cool experience
it was
too. So
fun.
it was both.
But we delivered to a family who had did the child have
Down syndrome.
He had Down syndrome, and we actually went in and put it on the bed for this mom, and he got in and loved it.
So cool.
And then soon after, we got an email.
Yeah.
And
So the first email we got is a mom said, I just want you to know for 7 years, I've had to hold my son tightly to go to sleep. And this is the first time I've ever been able to put him to bed, and I zipped him in and he went right to sleep. So when we designed it, honestly, we put the minky interior only because my son kept bringing like his minky blanket to bed. And I'm like, no, Austin, the whole reason why we designed this bedding is so your room looks clean and you are not doing it. And he's like, but Mom, the minky's so soft. But the minky edition was super expensive to add in. Yeah. But we were like, you know what? Our goal in the beginning was to make bedding for our kids. We're like, if we make bedding for our kids, we've succeeded. So you just keep your goals low and then you're like always passing them. No, but
You never fail.
but that little did we know that putting the Minky in and keeping the products the high quality that we did is what helped us, because it's opened adults want to use it. We've got kids with sensory processing disorder. I'd never even heard of that until we were getting emails from people. And honestly, like, it would make us emotional, because when I invented this, I was literally doing it for my sanity, to have a clean room. But
so there wasn't any time, like, you're just being a mom and busy and working. Was there an element of like trying to just expedite your life in that regards too? Or is it more just my kids need to be independent and make the bed so they have a clean room?
I just wanted a clean room. That's the really truth of it. And one thing I forgot to mention this earlier is, I feel like when I knew it was a good idea is when my daughter was paying my son $1 to sleep in his bed. And I was like, wait, what? It's like the exact same. She's like, no, they're like, no, Mom, it's so much warmer. I'm like, it's not warmer. It's the exact same thickness as your comforter that you already have. And they're like, no, Mom, it's so much warmer. And I realized it's because the bedding was staying on them. And little kids are constantly kicking their bedding off, and then they lose the bedding. And that's why they're waking up in the middle of the night. So many parents are like, my kids are sleeping so much better. I don't know what it is. But it's because the bedding stays on them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
If you got kids that sleep, the parents are happier.
Exactly.
It's so true.
Yep.
It's really so true.
True. So, well, and the kids that are just transitioning from a crib to a big bed, you can zip them in it, and you're not worried about them like falling out of the
Yeah,
sides,
that's
things
true.
like that. So that was another thing. Even with my youngest daughter, I'm trying to remember, it was about the time we put Beddy's on her bed, and I was like, cool, I don't have to worry about Kendall rolling out of the bed anymore.
Yeah. It really is
Zip her
true.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you talked about your kids, and you talked about how you've leveraged Facebook and Instagram for the business, but you've got some kids you've leveraged a little bit maybe along the way.
They got to make. They got to earn their keep.
Yeah, well, they've built huge YouTube channels.
Yeah.
All of them. I'll say
Yeah.
all of them, but the two of them have a channel together.
Yeah.
And
So.
then Alyssa's got her own channel.
Yep. So it started, actually, my daughter started first, and then kind of got bullied at school, and kids making fun of her.
I wanted to know about this.
Yeah. So she
Perfect.
closed her channel down. And honestly, the truth of it is too, is like, I think parents get so worried about kids on social media. And here's my take on it. I would rather have my kids be the creators than the consumers. So it keeps them busy. And when they started, they were making videos, and it was just for them. And I'm like, if all else, they've like made some great videos of our family and things we've done and good memories. It's journaling in a sense. And so then, and it kept them so busy, and they loved it. So rather
that
than
kept them out of trouble.
totally out of trouble, because otherwise they're consuming the garbage. You know, there's a lot of good content creators on YouTube, but there's a lot of garbage too. So I loved that they were in control of what they were doing, you know.
And so how did you balance that sort of parenting to kind of instill the right values of like not putting out more garbage or things that would be kind of inappropriate?
Well, I think number one, they're just always like, they're pretty inventive kids.
They're really good kids. Our kids are the same age, and before her boys were doing videos, my son would go over, and they were making things, trying to see if they would fly, or I swear, they were on top of your shed one time
with wings,
and they were
they
going to
built.
fly off, and you guys stopped them. Like, these are really creative boys, and they're good kids. All three of them are. So
they just started recording it. Really, it was just recording that, and it kept them busier. So in the summer, when they have all summer long, when they're out of school, I loved it, because they were like creating something, recording it, then editing it, and then putting it, because I don't know how to edit a video. But so then they started doing that, and then they started getting people watching. And I'm like, wait a second, people are watching. They have how many views on this? And then, so they got to, I think it was like when they were about 100,000 subscribers, we decided we made the bedding, like my twins were the reason I invented this. And so we decided to do a collaboration with them and let them design their own bedding. And if you saw it, you'd die. It's like literally, they thought that they were so creative, and it looks like the bedding walked off of Saved by the Bell.
I know. I love it. I wanted to order it.
So,
that's what I wanted to put in my kids' room.
So anyways, but they were so proud of it. And it was fun. It was a fun collaboration. But in turn, they put it in their videos, and that was advertising for Beddy's.
Right.
So it's been fun to kind of leverage their audience. Is that the right word? But
I don't know.
You know,
It sounds dirty
that
in a way,
sounds
but
terrible,
it's-
huh?
but it's not.
But it's been in the same time, like, that gave them a cool opportunity to design bedding for a big company, or, you know, not big, but like for them it's big. So it's been mutually beneficial.
And it's because of them that Beddy's was even started.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I feel like I have to give so much credit to my daughter too, because I'm like, she's the whole reason. You know, I got her face on the side of my truck, and her like, she's all over the website, and she's like the whole reason everything exists. So she's like my little golden child that I'm like still trying to use every last bit of content that I can with having a little kid. And then and I said even last night, I'm like, man, am I gonna have to have another baby?
So, like, with all the content that your kids put out, how have you balanced, like, we get schoolwork to do, like, get that done, and then not maybe falling into the trap that maybe some insecure kids tend to, even adults, I would say, like, how many likes did I get? How many followers? Like, have you been able to kind of instill certain things just that might be beneficial to other parents that are struggling with a kid that, you know, if they've been on the back, distracted by it, or, you know, kind of live and breathe by it, and how that affects their emotions at that developmental stage?
I think there is a little bit of that, but honestly, they are so busy that they don't have time to dwell on how many likes or how many views. Like, they see that they're like, oh, this video did really good, you know,
And
but
it's exciting, and then they
but
move
it's
on.
not like they're holding their breath, waiting to see how many views it gets or how many likes or comments.
Well, have you seen that with other kids then, that like in their schools and stuff that maybe don't have as much of a foundation of
I
your
think
kids?
it's more so the kids that aren't creators. You know, I think it's when you're a creator, you're so busy. They're in school all day, then they have to hurry and come home, and they're videoing stuff, and then they're editing after that. And now they use an editor just because they're wanting to upload 4 and 5 times a week, and that's just too many hours, and there's just not enough hours in a day. So, but even when they work with the editor, they still get it back and they'll add their little spin to it, you know. But they're not this. I love my children. No, just kidding. They're not the best students. They're very average students, and so I think this is such a great opportunity to have a place that they excel. You know, they're creative. They're not the best at math, and they're not the best at spelling. They're just that sounds like
I was a terrible student.
Yeah, and so I'm like, how great that they have something that they're good at. If you're good at math, I would encourage them to keep doing all these extra math things or whatever.
Right.
But they're not, and they're good at these little creative videos, and so it's building confidence, honestly,
Right.
by encouraging them to do what they're good at.
It's an
Have you
interesting take.
encountered any, I guess, situations where
Yes.
like
Jerks.
Yeah.
We have to filter their comments because there are just trolls. You know, the bigger you get, the more trolls you get. And somebody said, they're like, well, when you start getting these mean comments, they know you've made it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, but it is hard on them, so we just have to block it, and we will monitor a lot of the comments and not let them see them, just because it does nobody any good. I mean, even if I get a bad comment on my personal
ruin
social
your
media,
day for like an hour. You're like pissed.
We
about
were
it.
devastated in the beginning with
Yeah.
Beddy's. Things would devastate us and ruin our day.
Right.
someone
So,
saying that our bedding was stupid, I'm like,
or
what?
yeah,
You
just
know?
whatever mean thing people can say, and you kind of do develop a thick skin. You
Yeah,
learn to
you
look
definitely
past
have to
it.
have that thick skin for sure.
But
I don't have a thick skin. I just don't hear it.
Yeah.
So that's, for me, it's like I just can't hear it.
yeah.
I don't look at the websites that they talk mean or whatever.
you can get a lot of good feedback from it. It took me the longest time to take customers' feedback and put it in context too. It's kind of like like hotel reviews. You're like, let me just look at the Ritz to see the comments because it's supposed to be the nicest hotel in Pennsylvania, whatever, like wherever I'm going. And there's like people are just bashing it, and you're like, oh, let's reflect. Is this someone who's got a discount on it and was expecting a butler who's never stayed at a fancy hotel, or is this someone who's some billionaire who's just kind of a jerk anyways, won't complain about anything? So it's like putting it in context, right?
Yeah.
So as it relates to your product, what kind of feedback can I get and try to improve my product? And then just sometimes just realize there's people in this world that will never be satisfied, and you're like, okay, like I tried to do everything I could possible for you to rectify the situation, but you're just gonna hate it regardless. If you spend $1 at McDonald's on the value meal, you're gonna complain it was too expensive.
Yep.
It's
Yes.
just, people. So how have you kind of taken some of that feedback from them to try to maybe not let it ruin your day anymore and kind of use it as the positive to kind of grow?
So we also, we quantify, I think, how many people are saying something. So is this really an issue, or is this
Is it
one
isolated?
person, or is it, or if a lot of people are suggesting something. I think that was, in the beginning, we didn't have the zip off on the twin size. We only had it on full queen and king. And so people are wanting to separate the bedding to wash it. even though the twin would fit in the washing machine, so we're like, all right, maybe that's something that we bring in and change. Or the more we've grown and the bigger quantities we've done, we get better pricing. And rather than, this is kind of, maybe this is a dumb business move, but I feel like we both feel really good about it, is we upgrade something. So
we do the same thing.
Yeah, so it's like we get better pricing. All right, let's get better fabric. Let's get better elastic. Let's do a better zipper pull. Let's do it, So we are always trying to improve rather than just save that money. But I think in the end, the customers know that it's a quality product,
Right. Yeah. Well, it definitely shows when you receive it. Like I sleep in it every night. We've got it in kids' beds, like I said, and it's a good product. It's awesome. Everyone loves it. So it definitely shows.
You got to constantly be improving it, though.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to stay in the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like changing things, coming out with
you guys. That's
new.
something that we've been working on recently. Is some new designs. You guys are constantly coming out with new stuff. Does that help a lot of it? Do you have a lot of repeat customers from that, and people constantly buying the new design or a new pattern? Or
Yes and no. It's funny because our first 4 designs that we started with Kickstarter are still within the top 10. So we bring in new designs, and I think it just is something just to watch trends, and people want to see the new designs. But we can. Our return customer rate is, what is it? I swear it was like at 50 at one point.
Yeah.
Now it's like about a 35, because I think people buy one bed, they're like, I'm going to try it out, and then their kids love it and other kids want it.
Right.
So we have a really high return.
But you're not
Customer.
buying
repeat
bedding
customers?
frequently. You
Right.
don't
Every couple
change out
years.
your bedding
Yeah.
frequently. So
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
but on the other note, our customer return rate is less than 1%. So that's been really cool too.
Yeah.
So we have a 30-day money back guarantee, and the only time we really have returns is like people will think they have a queen and it's a full, or so they
bought
order
by
the
the wrong
wrong size.
size.
Yeah. So, but
or color. So we offer swatches so that people can see the color before they buy. But yeah.
All those things to try to improve the customer experience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you got to.
yep.
It's the name of the
The
game anymore, because
customer
everyone has so much
experience.
power. You think about like Amazon. It's like one bad review that
Wow.
might be like, we disappointed and we delivered wrong for that customer. They had a defect, right? Or someone's just angry, and it's like they wield so much power, but yet how do you balance just completely caving to everyone to basically give them all this free stuff,
I know.
or hey, you bought a product and when you run over it, it's not my fault.
Yep.
Have you found that? Do y'all sell it on Amazon?
No, we did for a while, but we just didn't
Specifically?
make money on Amazon. And I think our product just needs a video, and we couldn't do video on Amazon. So it's like,
You can now.
you can now.
Yeah.
Everyone can.
Yeah, and it's got something. You'd have to have a brand, register your brand,
Yeah.
and then have enhanced brand content, and you can add a lot more stuff about the brand and videos and all that.
Then that would be super helpful, because I think that's why we didn't ever sell on Amazon.
And in the beginning, also, one of our challenges, zippered bedding didn't even exist.
You had to educate
So
them.
so
Yeah.
people weren't even Googling that. No one's Googling Beddys, or so if they go to Amazon, they need to know about Beddys. They're not just going to come across Beddys on Amazon. So
So what we found a lot of times is, even though we pretty much deliver most places in the U.S. within 2 to 3 days anyways, and with even our free shipping option, that most people are just so trained that they'll want to go to Amazon just to get the 2-day or whatever else. So it's like, how do you, even if they come to our website through social media, through influencers, through marketing, they'll just want to buy it there regardless. That's just where
They just
shop.
trust. They
Yes.
trust
They
that
trust it.
prime.
That's
you
how
know.
I am. That's exactly how
know.
I am. But one thing too is working with influencers. We pay influencers on their affiliate codes and affiliate links, and so it's more beneficial to an influencer to swipe up to our website and have them buy with the code than to swipe up to Amazon. Amazon pays nothing for influencers.
Right.
So I think that's where it's been super helpful too.
From your
We
influencers.
just didn't sell on Amazon. Like, we're talking like 1 or 2 a week, and then by the end it was like maybe like 3 or 4 a week.
Interesting.
Yeah,
We do really well on Amazon.
yeah.
So obviously, very successful female-owned business. How has the support been from your husbands?
Awesome.
so good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
So they ended up 3.5 years, almost 4 years ago, they quit their jobs and bought the buildings, and then they do all the shipping and fulfillment for us. But it's been so great because I think now they've always been supportive, but I'm talking for my husband. This is Betsy, but he sees what I'm doing every day, and he's so helpful. And like, he knows I'm in a meeting and kids need something, he runs and does it, or
He's taken a lot of the home responsibilities.
Yeah, he's been so
good
great.
for him. We just had Gary Vee on the podcast, and that was one of the big things that he harped on was like, he thinks that there should be more men in America stepping up as a stay-at-home dad because it's like a stigma, right? That like men shouldn't be stay-at-home. That's
Less
for
masculine.
moms.
Women don't respect men that can't take charge, leadership.
Or make
in
the
that
money or
regards,
whatever. But he gives this example. He's like, deep down inside, that you'd be a better nurturing parent for these children, and that your wife would be a much better person in the business world, or whatever, to make the money. But the positions are reversed, and he's at home, or he's out working, hates his job. She's at home struggling to take care of the kids because she hates that. And if it was just reversed, if they just like kind of came to, and it would be a much better situation potentially. You know what I mean? So it's awesome to hear that they were so supportive, and they continue to be, and letting you guys run with that. But I kind of cut you off.
Well, no, I was gonna say one thing is, so my husband and I were boyfriend and girlfriend when we were 13. So we've been together for a long time. But we always used to say, like, our dream was to work together. So I feel like, honestly, my dreams have come true. That sounds so dumb, huh? But
no.
It's been like a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
We get to travel. I remember going to China, and on the Great Wall, we stood up there, and I'm like this, Beddy's brought us here. It was like a cool moment.
Very cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of realizations that I have like that. I'm like, dang, all because of Kendall. This diaper bag.
Well, I think you get so focused on what you haven't done, what you have to do, all these things, you don't look back. Like, I rarely step back and be like, oh my gosh, we did something kind of cool,
Super cool. I'm so proud of you guys. It's so awesome.
I was just thinking about this today because my husband he drops my son off at school, and he's even making dinners, and like, he's always been super helpful at home, but that's how he knows he can support me so that I don't have that stress,
So
and
awesome.
and from the beginning, I remember when Betsy came and asked me to do this with her, I was a stay-at-home mom, and they were all in school, so I had decided to finish my degree, and he was working, and it's our money, but he was full in, like, because we would, if we had to pay a bill for $100, we would each deposit $50 into the account, and I'd write the check. That's how it went. And how many thousands of dollars did we do before our home equity line? And
even after.
And after, yeah. And he supported that. And Gentry was always just as supportive. So we talk about it a lot, how, what a cool opportunity. Now we can travel together and see each other. We can go to lunch.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, we say it all the time, and there's a lot of times where people undervalue stay-at-home moms. Even it's so hard. Like, my wife's stay-at-home, and I could not do what I do without her supporting that on the back end. There's no way in the world I'd be able to accomplish half of what I've done if she wasn't the back end support. At home taking care of stuff. It's crazy.
Now, how's the dynamic maybe shifted with your kids were a little bit older once you really took on, this business. So how was that kind of dynamic that, mom's out there crushing it, and, as you start to be a little more formative years as opposed to, 3 and 5 and 6?
I think it's been so helpful that they're in school. Honestly, that sounds terrible because we tried to make, even all the people that work at the office, we call them mom hours, so they can drop their kids off at school, come to the office, and then leave to go pick their kids up. So we've done that. We've tried to do that as they're older. We are getting home a little later and later, I think. But one thing that was kind of fun is my boys were actually in an interview on this panel, and they were saying, what would you want to do when you grow up? And they said they wanted to be an entrepreneur like their mom. So that was kind of,
and I have 3 daughters. Betsy has 1, excuse me. And I love that they're watching me be a businesswoman and watching their dad kind of do that role reversal a little and know that that's okay. And they're really proud of me. They're like, my daughter did that. And this sounds so cliche, but she did the whole report at school, and she wanted to be like her mom,
Right.
And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And the opportunities we've had and the people we've met and places we've been, it's really cool. The kids are super supportive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Now, has that stemmed from some parenting little nuggets that you probably instilled on them when they were younger?
I think that you can't tell them or anything. It's the example that they see. So they would see me on the computer on holidays when everyone's around and I had to go answer emails or be on a phone call, or they saw me crying. I mean, how many times I come home and I'm just exhausted and stressed, and they saw that, and I think they realize, like, you don't get somewhere by just getting lucky. It's hard freaking work,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that it's not necessarily anything you say, it's by example.
Lead by example for sure. My kids see that a lot. I know your kids see that a lot, and they've been around it. And they're like, they'll say some funny things sometimes that are like, all right, they get it. They know we're working because they want to go to Disney World or whatever. But yeah, it's leading by example. I don't think you can tell them that
Yeah.
way.
No. Well,
Sorry.
Go
No, I
ahead.
was going to say, I'll remind them, like, do you guys realize you get to do this
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of all this, and because I think sometimes you do have to
Subtle
remind
reminders,
them.
yeah. You
want
And
them
I
to
think
know-
there are like those little nuggets, but to me, that is just what first came to my mind, is just like, it's all example. It's everything that they see. I can tell them to
Well,
not
if
drink soda, but I have to do it myself.
or just the little things, if
Yeah.
you're holding the door for some, an older person, they pick up on the fact that, like, you do, here's your actions. My actions are, I'm going to treat someone with respect, and then hopefully, obviously, they'll mimic it, and obviously be good people because of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. I know we're coming up on time. You guys got places to be.
No.
What else? What else do you
So
want to
one
tell
little
them about?
nugget I like to try to ask is, obviously, think back to first-time parent. We obviously say that, like, parenting, there's no instruction manual.
Yep.
We have a lot of first-time parents that listen to the podcast. Reflecting back on kind of where you were and now, just any sort of takeaway, kind of like one takeaway that you could, like, if a first-time parent was coming to you saying, like, your kids are on it, like, what did you do, or like, is there any kind of tidbit that you could provide them that could help them on
a little
kind of
piece of
that,
advice for a
on that
first-time
jumping into the unknown? You're jumping into the deep end with no floaties on. You got a little nugget.
Okay, I think my thing is find something every single day that makes you happy. So if it means getting your kids or child and running to Chick-fil-A for a break at lunch, do it. Or like just do something just to make every day happy. Even if it means taking them on a walk and going find a friend or going to, but think of something, because I think your kids feed off of your emotions and how you feel. And if you're in a good place, your kids are in a good place.
You're fine.
So anyway, I think that's my.
Oh, I feel like I think I was a good mom, but I wish I had I don't know, so many times I failed, but I think that we really just appreciated the little things, because when I was home with little kids, we were struggling. We were living paycheck to paycheck, but we were happy. And honestly, we have such a different life right now, but we can do a lot more than we used to be able to. But we were happy. We were grateful for just little things. We spent time together. I don't know. I think we just looked for the good in the situation we were in. We weren't always we didn't look too far in the future, like, well, when we're here, we'll be happy. And I really think that that's something I try to do just individually, and I hope I can instill that in my kids. Be happy where you are, because someday you're going to look back on that, and that's going to feel like you're going to have maybe good memories or bad memories. I don't know if that's making any sense, but
I get it. Yeah.
try to be happy where you are.
You got to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
I always think about it with, since having little kids is really fresh in my mind. It's like when they're screaming and they're whining, it's like you're just like, just go to sleep, and you're at your wit's end. But you're like, one day, like you're not gonna have these moments anymore. So you just gotta take it for what it is. It's a struggle, but just try to enjoy each moment that you have, and not try to overcomplicate or overthink everything.
And I don't want to downplay. I've always said being a stay-at-home parent or even a parent is the hardest thing. It really is, because you feel so frazzled. So I don't want to sound like an old grandma telling you just appreciate those. What do I always say?
It's like you have a screaming child, and then someone's telling you, cherish these moments.
Because you are at your wit's end. And also I think it's okay to think this is stupid. I hate this. But then, like, I think for me, we really appreciated, just try to appreciate the little things. But it was hard. It was hard to.
It's easier to look back at it and appreciate it than it is in the moment.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And it goes by so fast. That's
It
the biggest
does.
thing that I've taken away now. It's like you almost forget all those sleepless nights, whether it was sleepless nights because you're trying to build a business or sleepless nights because, you've got, in my case, twins at home, so you just, it passes and then you kind of look back on it fondly, but in the moment you're just losing your mind.
Oh,
But,
for sure.
thankfully, I think life has a funny way of kind of, you forget the hard things and you kind of remember the good things,
Yeah.
And I think that's parenting in a nutshell too.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Let these guys know where they can find you.
Beddys.com. So on social media, it's at Beddys Beds. And it's, okay, funny thing. So my name's Betsy, and I had no idea that Beddys sounds like Betsy. So I get called Beddy all the time. And I'm like, so it's Beddys, BEDDYS.com. But we thought it was a fun play on like making your bed with ease.
Right.
One zip at a time.
Ease.
Yeah.
Bed ease. But instead, I get called Beddy. Anyway,
funny.
so Beddys.com, Beddys Beds on Instagram. Yep.
Cool.
So.
Angie, do you have any final words? Nothing?
No,
Anywhere to find
I
you?
thought this
Okay.
was really fun.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Guys, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Guys,
you.
thanks for listening. Make sure you leave a rating and a review if you don't mind, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Subscribe to the channels. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.